Hi, this is Boris from Advantech, and this series of videos we're going to talk about nodered and how you can use it with the Advantech gateways. The nodered is a programming tool, is a visual programming tool for wiring together hardware, devices, APIs, and online services like, for example, IoT platforms. To learn more about nodered itself, please visit the official nodered web pages. But now let's switch into the Node-RED web interface and talk about how to use it. The Node-RED web interface is split in three main areas. On the left, there is an area called palette, which contains all the available nodes. In the center, there is a playground where I actually do a programming, and on the right, there are additional panels, and we are going to talk about three of them. The first one is the informational panel, which provides you information about the node. So once you pick any node, there will be information about this node, how to configure it, what it does in this informational panel. Then there is a panel debug panel, which shows you a payload which the debug node receives. And then also there is a dashboard panel where you can configure your dashboard. We will talk about it later. The nodes in the palette are split into three main categories. These are input, output, and function. For our very first example, we are going to use one input and one output. The very simple input is the timestamp or inject node, which is currently configured to be timestamp. And the very simple output is a payload. As I said earlier, it shows us here in the debug output, in the debug panel, the information it receives. So if we wire together these nodes like this and hit deploy, then if we now hit this button, we should see the payload coming from this inject node to the debug node. Yeah, so I hit it 3 times, and you can see here the number, which is the timestamp, which is the current time in milliseconds since the 1st January 1970. The inject node could be configured to provide different payloads. Currently it is timestamp, but we can switch it to, for example, number, and say, okay, the payload number is going to be 10. Done and deploy. And now if I hit this button, we should see here a number 10. Yeah, so you can see it here, and there's a number 10. Then let's copy and create another inject node with different payload number, which is going to be 5, for example. Done, deploy. So if I hit now this button, we will see number 5 here in the debug panel, and if I hit this, there will be 10. So 5 and 10. To show you how the functional nodes are working, I'm going to use the very simple but very useful node, which is the switch node. I'm going to put it here in between these nodes and wire it like this. And I'm going to go inside the node to configure it. And here I'm creating the rule. So if the message payload is more than 6, number 6, then the output is going to be number 1. Deploy. So I clear the debug panel. If I now hit this button, number 5, we should see nothing in the debug panel because our rule says if only the payload is more than 6, then to pass it further. As you can see, I hit it several times. We can see nothing in the debug panel. If I hit this button now, it will show us 10 because it's more than 6. You can see here in the debug info panel number 10. So this is how you can create your applications inside the Node-RED. You can use different inputs and different outputs, different functional blocks, create different rules, and wire different applications or different hardware together to solve your challenge. There are different inputs and outputs. So, for example, as an input, you can use not only the inject node, but you can use, for example, some payload coming by MQTT or by HTTP, TCP, coming from the file or from microphone as well, from the different protocols like Modbus, for example. For the output, you can use again the same or slightly different number of the available options. So also you can pass it by MQTT or you can pass it by a Modbus as well. You can, for example, send an email. So the payload coming from somewhere like this, you can send by email. You can configure the email server and then pass the payload by email to somewhere. You can store, for example, the payload into Dropbox and many different options. And also, of course, the functional nodes are very different and provide you very broad functionality. This is all for today video, and in the next videos we're going to talk about how to install the Node-RED into Advantech gateways and how to use some additional specific Advantech nodes. Bye.